My next guest will face Brandon Oldenburg this coming Friday, September the 9th at NEF 49 in Bangor, Maine. And of course, it is Brett Martin on the show for the first time. Brett, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Happy to have you on. It's been a long time coming. You're 2-0 now as an amateur fighter. It really seems like you have quite a bright future. And I want to start with camp because I noticed on Instagram this morning, Eduardo Benjamin had posted that you were up at Titan training with him. And I always thought that you were down at First Class MMA, but I also saw you at Che Institute. So what the heck's going on with your training camp?
Yeah. So it's honestly, I've been super blessed with the connections I've made kind of in this sport just over the last few years. I was living in Bangor, I went to Huston College or Huston University at this point, but I got my bachelor's through master's there, and so I was up here for like 8 years. And my fiance actually started doing jits over at Titan when I moved back down towards Topsom, and so I immediately had a connection with them. They used to be Team Irish, which John Rayau, our gym owner, was close to the Team Irish guys. And the connection back to Shay's too was, Marcus is a black belt under Shay Shindo, and John did most of his striking there as well. And so it's like kind of a 3-tier group that I got involved with, and as well as Shay shares a gym with Dragonfire, which Rass's from, who trained with us, and so. I've made a ton of connections through that. And so anytime I'm up here, at camp, as far as like, the on the water camp, I get to go and work with those guys. I got to help out Ed Davis with his camp a little bit this past card, which was tough because I actually know I'm friends with the KT guys as well. And so I was like, you guys gotta stop fighting each other, because he fought Bryant Wade first, and then he fought Ed, and I was like, you guys are killing me here. I'm trying to cross train with everybody, but it doesn't work out very well. But yeah, they're just, all of those gyms are super open to cross training and developing everyone's game, especially at an amateur level. And so I've really benefited a lot from just getting different looks, different styles and bodies from going to those different camps. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it must be so helpful to you to just get such a variety of looks, different body types, different styles of, fighters, what they're best at. Who have been the main training partners for you for this camp?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I was very benefited because I helped Brian Fredette with his camp. Obviously, he fought David Burke on this last card. David Burke's, he's a beast, dude. He's killing it out there. But I helped Ryan Fredette with his camp, so I get to work a ton of wrestling because he's a monster wrestler. I work a lot with Dalton Dunphy, who's only been in there once, but he's a monster on the mats. Eric Nelson, I come and work with Ed Davis pretty frequently, and yeah, so those are kind of like my core people. We have a bunch of guys that filter through between they probably could cut down to 55, but walk 180, 190 up through 210, 220 between the different camps. And so I get to work with not so much this camp, but in my past 2 camps, work with Crow's Neck as well out at Shay's, and just lots of different body type styles that I think make me a more well-rounded person. Because what works at my regular gym at First Class, if I come up to Titan, it might not work at all. And so I say I need to be aware of those things in order to kind of advance my game. Because there's nothing worse than, if I go in and, try a takedown and they immediately read it and stuff it. And it's like, oh, this worked 100% of the time when in camp, and now I can't do it. It's right. It's going to really, really be a mental block when you're in there. So yeah, but a lot of just great guys who everyone's out for each other and really trying to just push each other to get better. And so it's been a great couple camps in a row, I would say. So, yeah.
And I know First Class has a variety of fighters, different weight classes. When you are there, who primarily do you work with the most?
Oh, me and Dalton Dunphy, since I started at First Class, and it's crazy because when I started, I was 250 pounds when I started. So I was pretty out of shape and had to get back in shape. But Dalton Dunphy has been a go-to in helping me really progress my MMA grappling game. He's a really good MMA grappler. Harry Dwyer, who's he kind of started after me, but he used to be a best power lifter in Maine. He was just an absolute beast. And so working on the ground with him, with his strength, has been a huge benefit. Sadly, Ras has kind of been, he's at a different camp now, but like I've gotten work with him at Shays and stuff like that. But Eric Nelson, who's a brown belt, has like 5 fights, and he's been like a go-to guy for me too, as well as a mentor. He's a corner for me as well. But yeah, like those guys are go-tos for me at first class. So yeah.
What was your takeaway from Raz's last fight? I mean, my God, he looked scary.
Dude, I missed it. No joke. I looked over and I saw it against the cage. We had been trying to get one of our guys. He had been at the medical tent and stuff like that, and we look over and we go, "Hey, Ras is about to start." And then like we looked away for a second and the fight was over, and I was like, "Dude, you gotta." I saw him right after. I was like, "Ras, you gotta make it last a little longer so I can actually see something." Like you gotta. But man, I remember when I was working with him at Shays getting ready for the fight, and I was just trying to help him push his cardio and stuff like that. Like obviously he's a lot bigger than me at this point, but he was just so sharp. And when he's on, he's so long and so powerful when he's at that weight, because he's not cutting to 220, 225 anymore. And when he hits you, like he's broken my nose before. He's like unintentionally, busted me up, and it's like you can just tell that power is always there. And so if he lands on anybody, he has the ability to put him out. So it didn't surprise me. It definitely makes me sad, because like Cody Lightfoot's obviously a really nice guy, and you don't want to see someone retired on that quick one. But obviously, it's Brass is my boy, and I want him to succeed no matter what. So it was awesome to watch all that hard work he's been putting in come to fruition. So
yeah. No doubt, man. I can't wait to see what's next for him. Equally one of the nicest guys here in the New England combat sports world. I got to ask you about another friend of ours, a mutual friend, and that's Nick the Guardian Gulliver, the former amateur heavyweight champion, one of my best friends, and I know you're very close with him as well. What is it like to roll with him? Because he's tried to get me to like do that before, and I said, hell no, it's not going to happen. You'll kill me. So what is that like from your perspective?
So like the benefit of rolling with Ras, right, is he's long, and so there's at least like some gaps you can try to utilize. Goalie is he's so dense, dude. He's just a big guy, and so like I try to get my knees in to kind of push off and stuff like that, and he can just smother right down through, and he's super methodical. But when he explodes, he's such a powerful guy. It can be overwhelming in the clinch and stuff like that. He's a ton of fun to work with though, because like even if he is exhausted, man, he puts it all out there all the time. And I honestly didn't even realize until recently his fight nickname, because he stopped fighting before I even started training. And I had made a post about him because he sponsored me for this camp and stuff. And I didn't realize the whole Guardian thing was something that kind of came through for everybody else too, because like he just, if you're having a bad day, you talk to goalie and he's going to pull you up out of it. If you're having a good day, he's going to amplify it. Like he just has the ability to with people to kind of amplify through who he is, and it's such a unique thing for people to be able to do. Like I worked mental health for a long time, and it's like those are the kind of people that you want out in the community, because they brighten everyone's day. And you can tell that he's just someone who he will go out for anybody at any point as long as you're in with him. And so it's that loyalty and respect that he brings to everybody he's around. So yeah,
it's funny you say that, because I was fortunate enough to have him as one of my groomsmen in my wedding.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
Now my friends, I think they like him more than me. Now there's spent one night with him, so I'll just leave it at that. But I totally agree, he does. He brightens everyone's day that he is around. So you did mention when you first went into the gym, you were 250 pounds. This upcoming fight's a middleweight bout, so it's 185. What are you walking around at now?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. The last camp, I really kind of tried to change my body type a lot. So I cut my weight down, and I had been walking for my first fight around like right around 200. And so right when we hit camp, I was like down to 195 right off. And so I got in the cage, I was like a little just like around 195. And I'm seeing these guys, and they're going in, and they're like, somewhere between 200 and 210 normally, if not like going north of that. And so I was like, all right, like I have Felipe Gunter in my camp, and Felipe, he the former bantamweight champ and stuff. And he's a weight cut wizard. Like he just has it down packed. Like this guy, you can see him at weigh-ins compared to night of, he just blows up. He's just huge. And so he's like, Brett, you can do 10% easy. You can do a 10% cut. So like 203.5 down to 85, no issue. I'm going to get you there. And I was like, all right. So I bulked up. I put on like probably 8 or so pounds of lean mass. And it was probably like a 4 to 5 month period. It was just, eating creatine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And really just focused on that, lowered my cardio a little bit to help with it. And we, hit weight with no problem. And, the issue with a lot of those weight cuts is like, if you're nervous about it, the anxiety goes up, the cortisol levels go up, and it makes it hard to lose the weight. And so literally I had to message him during the week. I was like, all right, Felipe, I don't think it's going to come off. He's like, calm down. You're okay. It's going to be fine. Like, and so, so this camp, I've been able to walk at, right around 210 for the majority of camp. About 3 weeks out, I started lowering my intake, getting myself down to like 205. Then week of, like a week from weigh-ins, I try to weigh up at 203.5 and start the cut from there. And, it's gone super smooth. The goal is to get back up to, somewhere between 202 and 205 fight night. So yeah.
And how tall are you?
I'm like 6'2".
Yeah, so you're like the perfect height, length, as far as what a middleweight should be, right? I mean, do you feel like you would want to entertain any other weight classes in your future, or do you feel like 185 is where you should be?
So initially I was talking to John, and we're like, yeah, maybe like after the first fight, we'll dip down to 170 because my weight was so low during camp in general. And I felt really strong in there despite being like not quite at like the maximum weight I could really be benefiting from. And so like right after the fight, he goes, yeah, you're staying at 85. I was like, oh, so it's not a choice anymore. He's like, no, you're staying 85. And I was like, okay, like sounds good. So we entertained 70, but now I would have to kind of recomp my whole body type now, because I've tried to embrace the 85 life as much as possible and try to fit that mold a little bit. But I definitely like, I think anyone in this game, and I'm sure you do it yourself too, like you're watching UFC cards, Bellator cards, you're looking at all the stats and like the arm lengths and all that stuff, and be like, oh, where do you compare against these people on the average scale? So it's definitely something that we look at, because it's always beneficial to look at the top tier people and how they're able to do the cut. So
yeah. For sure. Did you watch Robert Whittaker's performance yesterday?
I did. It was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
Man.
I think I was going to get yelled at because I was at the wedding when I was watching it. I was waiting for someone to come by and yell at me. But he's just like, you look at Vittori's huge. Vittori's absolutely massive, and Whittaker is just that guy. And he's kind of my build, he's like 205 to 210, like maybe gets up to 215 outside of camp. Just leans out and is just so technical. And like, actually me and John Ray were talking about it last night. We were texting. He's like, he has like a perfect 3 or 4 techniques that he just knows how to rotate through and keep people on their toes, and capitalizes on it all the time. And people just can't get through it. Like even in the Adesanya fight, right? Like you could argue he potentially got a split decision on it. Like I personally don't think I'm more of a Whittaker fan, but like he still was able to implement that at the highest level. And so it goes to show, like, you don't just have to be a genetic freak to do that stuff. You can just be super, super technically sound and capitalize on it. So
yeah. For sure. Well, yeah, I'd be biased if I got into that, because Whittaker is easily one of my favorite fighters. Anyone that's close to me would tell you that top 5 all time. I love Robert Whittaker. I love everything about him inside of the cage and outside of the cage. He's just a good human being. So I was really thrilled to see him get that win, and I hope he gets the 3rd shot at Izzy, because that second fight was so close.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, because like a lot of people are saying like Pereira takes that fight like easy. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means. Israel's very tough and elusive to pinpoint. I think Pereira, if he puts his hands on him, there's a high probability that he can knock him out. But like, you got to touch him though. You got to be able to touch him, and that's the hardest part. So, but if Pereira does win, I love that for Whittaker, because that turns into turmoil, kind of like the one like Usman and Edwards, right? Like Usman was clearing out the division. Now it's up for grabs. Now it's like who's next and who can snag it. And I think that's always more entertaining, because like you can get stagnant seeing the same person defend it over and over again, even if it's great performances every time. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what Edwards does as well in that case. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Hey, and the NEF, they booked this 49th event perfectly the day before UFC 279.
Yes.
Everyone's going to want to watch Diaz Chimaev. So very smart as far as the date goes for NEF to make this card. Who do you think wins that main event, Diaz or this upstart Chimaev, who looks like a monster?
Man, it's so hard, right? Like, because everyone counts out Diaz in this matchup, right? And it's like Chimaev is an absolute monster. But like I was actually in Bangor at seasons, what is it, the Down Under, when Diaz fought McGregor the first time. And I was one of the two people there that was cheering for Diaz. And I was like, they're like, oh, he's getting tuned up, he's getting busted. And I'm like, dude, he's a bleeder. Let him go. Like he's gonna survive. And lo and behold, he took it out. And that 5-rounder with Leon Edwards. Edwards is an absolute monster. He's the champ and almost got finished by him in the 5th round. So I think the longer the fight goes, the more likely Diaz can take it. I think if it finishes in the first couple, it would be because Chimaev just, overpowers him on the ground and makes it so the ref has to stop it. I don't see Diaz getting knocked out. I don't see Diaz, getting submitted, but I feel like it could definitely be like a TKO in the first 2 for Chimaev, and vice versa. If it goes past that 2nd round, I think Diaz could pull away and just out pressure him. Kind of like, Burns showed that, he's human, and that's the biggest thing, right? Because he rocked him at one point and stuff. And so suddenly that invincibility that everyone saw in Chimaev just running through everybody is gone. And so I think that increases a lot of people's confidence against him too, which can be half the battle, if someone's confident going into it. So
for sure. My biggest concern as a Diaz fan is, for me, he's a 155er. Like he's thin at 170. There's so many 170ers that are way bigger than him. And Chimaev is just a monster at 170. So I'm concerned there's just going to be a size and strength discrepancy here and Chimaev's favor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, because like after what he did to was it Lee Jinglong?
Yeah.
And just how he like big brothered him across the ring. And Lee is a legitimate 170 here, and like he just walked him across the ring. It's like, oh no, like it's like, so there is that possibility that he could do that with Diaz too, and Diaz just doesn't have the ability to get out once he gets his hands on him. So yeah.
I think you're right. Let's transition back to your career. So you're 2-0 now as an amateur. First, just tell me, how did you fall in love with combat sports? What's your background in it? Did you play any other sports before you got into MMA?
Yeah, so I actually have no traditional background at all. I have been a fan of MMA for a very long time. Like I was a religious watcher of UFC and stuff like that. But I always played other sports. It was soccer, basketball, lacrosse for me all the way through school. When I came up to Husson, I was recruited to play lacrosse. So I played 4 years of lacrosse there. When I was going for my master's, I had an extra year of eligibility, and they had just started a track and field team. So I threw for a year, and that's kind of when the weight started going up, because there was like, hey, you're not allowed to run anymore. And I was a midfielder for lacrosse. And so I would walk 215, 220 as a midfielder. And so I got up to like 230, 235 when I was throwing. And then I was done. And for like 2 years, didn't do anything basically. Like I lifted, quote unquote, but it was more just, going in and just doing a little bit of work. And on my 25th birthday, actually, I was visiting my fiance, who was up in Hamden still at the apartment we were renting. And I literally had anxiety attacks all night. I don't know what it was, but I was having anxiety attacks. And I was like, something needs to change. And I messaged John Ray out and was just like, hey, like I'm flat broke. I'm a full-time intern. I don't have any money. I'm looking to get in shape. If you need me to, mow your lawn, if you need me to work your like the front desk, whatever it is, like I'm just looking to do something. I need something to really kind of bring me back, And he's like, yeah, come in tonight. He's like, I've got someone for you. And it was actually Nick Shea, which I don't know if you know Nick Shea at all, but he's an absolute monster on the mats. And he's like, I got a guy for you. He's going to kind of bring you through the ropes, and we'll see if you still like it after. So basically it was like, I have a nice guy who's going to brutalize you for an hour and a half, and we'll see if you still want to do it. And so I went in, and it was a great experience. Got choked out, every 30 seconds all night, basically. But he looks at me and goes, "Do you want to come back?" And I was like, "Yeah, I need to learn this." Like, I never felt so useless. It's like, you're helpless there. You're like, these guys are doing whatever they want to me. And it was immediate. As soon as I had that and got a taste of it, I was cleaning the mats for John every night, and that was my payment for the time being until I started working full time and stuff. And it's just been 5-6 days a week like since then. It's what I do outside of work now. So yeah.
So in April at Combat Zone, you had a UDUN, which moved you to 2-0. How happy are you with that performance? What did you take? What could you improve after that performance?
Yeah, so it's first of all, Kurt's such a good guy, man. Like, we got to share a lot of conversations after, and he was a pleasure to share the cage with. And he was tough as nails. Holy smokes, that first round, I don't know what he was made out of, but I was clipping him with some heavy shots, and he would just sit back, put his head down, and start throwing. And I was like, dude, he's just not going down. I don't know what I have to do. And I felt really good in that first round, and then I kind of made a mistake, overextended a little bit on a clinch, and got caught with a little hook over the top, and it closed out my eye. I was completely basically blinded at the rest of the fight. And so basically between trying to keep the doctor from stopping it, and so having to cover my eye the whole time while we were fighting, I had to kind of change my game plan entirely. And we didn't know anything about his ground game, so we're like, do we want to go to the ground? Do we really want to just kind of grind him against the cage? And I felt strong against the cage, so I kept him there, just kind of like tried to do some damage on the cage. Didn't get the finish, and so with that, I'm pretty upset at myself, because I want to go out and I want to make it definitive. Like, you could argue, like, yes, I controlled the fight, but it's not as definitive as a finish. But I learned a ton. I got 9 minutes of cage time from it. I had to overcome a cage injury and finish the fight. So I feel like I gained a ton of experience, and that's stuff that you can't replace. Like, if you just tear through somebody, it's great, and it's great to get the win under your belt. But how much are you learning from it at the same time? Because you don't get put up against those tough situations to make you grow, which is kind of why we're here, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic to be able to overcome that adversity and still get a UD win, log that cage time. A lot of benefits came from that, and it leads you into this third fight, which potentially could be the toughest fight of your young career thus far. Brandon Oldenburg, he is 0-1, but when you look at that first fight with Brandon Wade, I think it's safe to say that it was stopped a little early. Brandon still had his wits about him, and he trains out of Vision Quest, so he's got Ryan Sanders as one of his main training partners, so he's getting some great looks there. What do you think about this matchup for yourself? Do you like it?
Yeah, so it's super interesting, right? Like, I like Brandon too. Like on social media, we're very cordial and stuff like that. He's actually, when they offered me his name, I messaged him and was like, "Hey man, like all respect, like we're taking this. If you're interested." He's like, "Absolutely, let's go after it." And yeah, like you said, you easily could say that was an early stoppage. Like, Bryant Wade's my boy. Like, I went to college with him and stuff, and he's a sniper, right? And so, do I blame the stoppage? No. Do I think it could have been early stoppage? Yes. It's one of those ones that's like that super gray, like, who knows what would have happened if it continued. But Bryant Wade is a sniper, man. Like, you saw his last fight against Joe Peters, like, he ended up losing that fight, but that first round, holy smokes, man, he was just touching up. Like, he was touching up throughout the round. But yeah, like, Brandon's coming from a really strong Muay Thai gym. Like, Primo, obviously, he has high expectations of his students and fighters. He's not putting someone in the cage that isn't prepared to work. And I know Brandon's going to be one to, get that cage time back. Like, it sucks. I obviously haven't experienced it myself, but even in my first fight, when my guy didn't come out for the second round, I was pissed, because I was like, I wanted to finish. I want to have this very definitive conclusion. So I'm sure he's been thinking about that since his last fight, and is going to want to come out and steal my wins. That's kind of what it is. Like, when you're going at someone who has a couple wins under the belt, you beat them, you have some of that clout under yourself. And so Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. I don't know what to really fully expect from him. I'm trying to go into it very flexible. That's been a part of the reason I've been trying to train with as many different people as possible, because I don't know how he's going to come out. We really didn't get to see his striking. We really didn't get to see his ground game or clinch game. So he has a bunch of film on me, which I don't have on him. And so I got to be very, very flexible in this fight to make sure that I stay safe. So
For sure. Now, with you having ties to the Bangor area, are you going to have a lot of supporters in the building come Friday? And does that add more pressure?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I think we're both going to have a good crew supporting us, because my connection with Titan, and like I'm friends with Glory and stuff like that. So a lot of our mutual people are going to be there. And it's kind of funny, actually. One of Chris Gaudette, who I worked with at Dysarts for a long time, he trains at Vision Quest. I saw him at the wedding last night. He's like, Brett, why are you doing this to me? He's like, Brandon's my boy. I was like, man, you gotta support your boy. I get it. Like, just don't curse me or anything like that, like. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of mutual support. I know he's right from the Newport area in general, so he'll get a ton of people coming out. Honestly, I'm not too worried about the pressure of people being there as much. It's once you get in there, it just kind of is what it is. Like, I try to have fun. When I go in, I'm not doing this for anyone else other than me. So if someone wants to come to me after a fight, like say I did, like I lost or something like that, and they're just like, bro, I spent, X amount on tickets or blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you're not in it for the right reason. I feel like you're going to blame someone for that. So, yeah, so the added pressure isn't an issue. My fiance wraps my hands, so I get to see her backstage the whole time. It helps keep me relaxed and mellow, and that's really all I want, is just to be relaxed going in, and then when the cage door closes, ramp up, and for 9 minutes we get to rock, and then it's all good afterwards. So yeah.
Last question from me. I know nothing but respect towards Brandon here, but do you believe you get him out of there? What's your prediction for this fight?
Oh, so I don't want to make a clear prediction, because I don't really have a plan for the fight either. Like, people have been asking me that too. There's like, what's the game plan for the fight? And like, I'm trying to go in as flexible as possible. The goal is to get it finished, though. Like, I'm not going to be chasing it, because I think when you chase it, that's when you get caught with stuff. And that's usually when I've noticed, even like sparring or anything like that, that's when holes get exposed, when you're trying too hard to finish it. And so I'm going to go, take what comes my way, and if it leads to a finish, then I'm gonna, follow through with it. If it has to float and wait for like a later round or something like that, and get to work the cardio game, I'm down for that as well. But yeah, I mean, I know he's a scrapper, so I think we're gonna be busy probably early in the first. I'm sure he's gonna come out and want to bang right off, being from a Muay Thai gym. So I'm happy to oblige, and we'll see where it goes from there. So yeah.
Can't wait, man. I'm going to be there doing the commentary again this Friday in Bangor at the Cross Center. So anyone out there, if you can't be there in person, I know there will be a pay-per-view stream that you can purchase to watch the fights. But again, Brett Martin meets Brandon Oldenburg this Friday at NEF 49. Great having you on the show for the first time, my man. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. I know you have some sponsors you want to thank.
Yeah.
Tell people where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so I mean, I've got my PNC shirt on right here, Portland Nutrition Corner, out in South Portland. If you don't believe they work, just look at one of the owners, Chuck. He's absolutely jacked out of his mind. Obviously, shout out First Class MMA, Shea Institute, Titan Athletics, as well as I didn't get to train much this camp, but Karasu Tengu out in New Hampshire, just great guys. No Slack Fishing. Bill's Herbal Care, the Heartbreakers, Gould's Waterwell and Drilling, which is actually right in Newport as well. My mom's actually from the Dixmont area, so it's kind of funny. I've got a lot of mutual people that know my opponent as well. But Excel Mechanical, Game Plan Physical Therapy, Little River Coffee out in Lisbon, New England Fitness, which is my lifting gym, which is attached right with Game Plan as well. You got to shout out Goalie's Tiki Bar. Definitely going to be there Saturday after the fights. Shresh Property LLC, and a special shout out to the Orams. Elise Oram sponsored me. He's a buddy of mine. Nick died a few years ago, and she shouted out to me and was like, "We want Nick's name on your shirt," and I was like, "Absolutely!" Like in a heartbeat. And so I've got a logo for him on my shirt as well. So I just want to thank the Orms as well for being willing to add that to it as well. So yeah.
Very good. That's important too, to have people there that aren't with us anymore, and remember them as much as we can. So I applaud you for that. Great interview, Brett. I look forward to seeing you on Friday, man, and we'll do this again soon.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, Ryan. Good seeing you.
Thank you.